Hey guys, how are you? Um, Thank you for bearing with me. We are starting at 6:10. I wanted to give people a chance to get in. How are you guys enjoying the break thus far, right? The majority rule day. Thank God for a holiday. I remember those days of being in the office and I always knew when the next holiday was coming up. So, as you guys come in, I just want to introduce myself and then we'll go right into it because, quite frankly, I don't want to keep you here for too long. It may be about an hour or a little bit more, depending on if anyone has any questions. So, thanks for joining me on your holiday or wherever you are in the world. My name is Shanna Etchcom and I am the founder of TREP, and you are tuned into a webinar called Make Your Ideas Matter. So, TREP is all about helping creatives, freelancers, and small business owners who are just starting out how to get organized in their business so that they can get paid. I am all about systems, processes, automation, brand management, just getting your business life together. I myself have a varied background. So I have a degree in business, international business and HR to be exact. And then I have worked in various fields. I've worked in food and beverage and catering and aviation, customer service, business, project management, development, event planning and design. I do all kinds of things. I am what people would call a millennial multi-potentialite. That is someone who has many, many different interests and enjoys doing different things and, is just curious about the world and wants to employ all of their gifts, right? So that's what I am all about. And I love talking business, honestly. I call myself a business-minded creative. I am a creative. For a very long time, I never thought I was a creative. But then I realized that myself, like many people, were in 9-to-5 jobs, but had a creative side to them. But I wasn't necessarily using my creative side in my 9-to-5, right? So then the side hustle comes because, hey, number one, I need to make money because the Bahamas is expensive. And if you are relying on one salary and it's not above a certain threshold, then you basically stuck and you're living from paycheck to paycheck or you can't meet your goals. And that's where the side hustle comes in, and that's where you can really use the creative part of you to turn into a side hustle, which if you want and you work at it, you can turn into a full-blown business. And that's what TREP is here to show you. So I am going to go right into it. And if you see me looking off, it's because I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do this one quick thing when we start, right? Before we start. And that is to get a piece of paper or use your phone and write down what it is, the idea that you have, whether it is a project, an event, a business, or whatever it is. It could be a one-time thing. It could be your side hustle that you want to help bring in income. It could be a business that you want to start on the side. It could be you have quit your job and you have this thing that you want to work and you're not sure how to work it, but your bills still need to be paid. It could be a one-time project like an event, a nonprofit thing you want to give back, whatever it is. Write it down and write it down in 1 or 2 sentences. Do not be long-winded, okay? Because guess what? There's this thing called an elevator pitch, right? And so when someone asks you, well, okay, what do you do? The concept of the elevator pitch is if you get into an elevator with someone who has the potential to help you, they could be an investor, they could be a great networking person, they could be a future business partner, whatever it is. You get into an elevator with them and you have that space of time between when you get in the elevator and whatever floor they get off of, or if you get off first. That might be weird if you hang around the elevator trying to get their attention, right? So you need to have literally a 30-second pitch. That is your elevator pitch. 1 to 2 sentences, make it impactful, okay? And hopefully by the end of this training, you will have a better idea of what you should put in the elevator pitch and see what is most important that you need to consider, okay? So I will let you do that really quickly. And as you are doing that, and that's writing 1 to 2 sentences talking about your idea, whether it is a project, an event, a side hustle, a business, whatever it is. You want it to have an outcome, you want it to make you money. Okay? So I'll tell you a little bit while you're writing, if you can multitask. Some people can't. While you're writing, how the idea of Trap came about. So I'm obsessed with business. I think I said that before. I am literally obsessed. Like, I find it fun to write down ideas and help people flesh their ideas out, and fun to watch webinars, and fun to keep learning things about business. It's weird, but literally you could possibly find me in my favorite coffee shop. I'm not gonna call names because they're not sponsoring me. And I could be there on a Friday night in the corner by myself, and I am content. I am just studying, I'm writing, I'm in my zone, I am good. I don't need anyone else to keep me company, I am good, right? So I ended up helping other people put their ideas together and guide them on how to execute their ideas, right? And one day, jokingly, I said, I wish I could do this for a living. Why can't I just do this for a living? I live for this. And then, months later, the thought occurred to me. I'm a Christian, so I call it Holy Spirit, right? It occurred to me, you can do this. What do you think consultants do? Now, that was like a light bulb went off in my head, because I had never thought about that being a career for me. I never thought that I could get paid for it. You know, we don't normally see too many people who are us, who are consultants, especially not to the creative community, right? Because it is quite a marginalized community. But that's where the idea went off in my head, and so I began to explore that. And that's where Trap was born, because I looked around and I have so many friends who are creatives, who do these things on the side, don't really know how to organize themselves, don't know how much they should be charging, don't know their worth, all kinds of things. And I was like, no, see, I am a creative, but I'm also a business-oriented creative. Let me help y'all get it together, right? And that's what Trap is gonna do. So tonight, I wanna jump into it. Hopefully you have your 1 to 2 things, your 1 to 2 sentences that summarizes your idea. So I wanna talk to you about, these are the 7 categories, okay? Mindsets that work against us. What is your why? What is your superpower? Who do you sell to? Validating your idea. Let's talk about the economy right quick. Running your numbers, and why you need to plan. So first of all, let's talk about the mindsets that work against us, right? So there's this thing called limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are things that hold us back, right? When something is a part of your belief system, it is ingrained in you. You believe that unconsciously. It will cause you to do things unconsciously. Like, for example, let's say, think of a belief. Like, let's say you believe that the world is your oyster, right? And so you believe that as long as you want this thing and you work hard for this thing, that you're gonna get this thing. So that is a belief that you have. And so all of your behaviors, everything that you do is guided by this belief. So if you believe the world is your oyster, then that means you see this thing, like this dream job, and so you're gonna say, okay, if I align myself and get the qualifications for this job, then if I apply for this job, there's a good chance that I'm gonna get that job. That's a belief that you have in yourself, that you are capable, and that's a belief that you have, that if you work hard, you can get whatever you want. But here's the thing, a lot of us have limiting beliefs. A lot of us have negative beliefs about ourselves. And we do these things subconsciously. So I was actually, I was listening to this lady talk one day, and she said the average human being, and I looked it up, she's correct, the average human being has between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. That means that you have between 35 and 48 thoughts per minute. That means that literally every minute, every 1.5 to 2 seconds, you have a new thought. Raja Bain, I am going to talk. Okay, I can answer your question about social media and branding later on. I'll answer that for you. So if you have a new thought every 1.5 to 2 seconds, okay, and you have limiting thoughts about yourself, okay, how many times do you think you're going to brainwash yourself throughout the day to keep repeating those thoughts? For example, you may have a belief that you're not capable. So therefore, anything that you do, you're going to come from a defeatist attitude. I'm not capable of getting this job. I'm not capable of doing well in my job. I'm not capable of making more than I make right now. I am not deserving of making a better salary. I'm not deserving of people treating me well. These are the things, the thoughts that sometimes we can brainwash ourselves with, right? And I'm going to go into some of the limiting beliefs, which, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? So as we think, our behavior, as we believe, our behavior is also going to be guided by that. So some limiting beliefs are, you feel like a fraud. I'm not talented enough. You feel like you're not in control. Like, for example, some people say, well, you know, I'll move when God gives me a sign, or, you know, victim mentality, or feeling lazy. Questioning if your voice matters. I definitely know that I have experienced that when I was younger, because especially in this country, we don't necessarily value our youth. And so we say, oh, well, you know, and it's learned from young, you know, stay out of the conversation adults are talking. And even from when we're children, then we end up being taught, okay, as a child, we have no voice, we have no opinion, and we're not supposed to say it. And then we could feel guilty, right? We could feel guilty about charging how much we should be charging. I just had a conversation with a friend about that. You know, she undercharges herself so much, and I was just rowing. I was like, listen, like, you have these people who ain't been doing what you do for half the amount of years that you've been doing it, and you talking about you charging what per hour? Like, if you break that down, right, you think your worth is $1, not even $1 a minute. But I'm going to get into that. So let's talk now about how limiting beliefs can manifest themselves into limiting behaviors. And there's a reason why I'm talking to you guys first about limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs manifest in self-sabotage. A client can come to you and say, hey, I need a quote. I heard you do this good thing. How much would you charge me? And then you never get back to them because you're afraid that you can't live up to their expectation, right? Not perfecting your craft, not studying, not sacrificing. Inertia. Inertia is a tendency for us to do nothing, or we're constantly waiting. Inertia is actually a physics term, right? So it literally means that the candle that is behind me is just sitting there. Once the candle starts moving, the candle is in motion if I roll it across the floor. Right now, the candle is just sitting there. That is inertia. That's literally stored potential for movement. And some of us literally stay in our place, and we are fearful of moving forward. We're fearful of making the wrong choice. We're fearful of being successful. We are fearful of failure, and so we do nothing. It's literally like we are paralyzed. And much of it, quite frankly, is mental. We play small. You know, again, going back to my friend, she plays small. You know the market says that you should be charging $150 an hour, right? But you're afraid to put that price on you because you don't want anyone to question if you're really worth $150. So you put yourself as you are worth $50 per hour. Let me tell you something. People can take advantage of you. They are. People can take advantage of you. And lastly, not taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, or emotionally. Okay, that is a huge thing. Body, mind, spirit. Okay, so why am I talking to you guys about limiting beliefs? Because here's the thing. You could have the best idea in the world. God could have literally given you this vision and you see it in the air. That's happening before. I have had, God can, he can give you the complete strategy. A millionaire, a billionaire, Oprah can come and say, listen, I have had people secretly studying what could work in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean and then the world. This is the blueprint for it. She can give you the blueprint and she can tell you, I will give you $1 million to start this thing. But guess what? If you have limiting beliefs, you're going to sabotage that. You're going to blow that money. You're not going to believe in yourself. You are going to blow that opportunity. It doesn't matter how good your thing is. It doesn't matter how good your business is, your solution, your idea, your event. It doesn't matter. You will sabotage yourself. It is extremely important. It is, let me say it again. It's extremely important to get your mind right. When your mind is not right, you're not going to make the money that that you could be destined to make. You're not going to do it. You will sell yourself short, and I'm going to go into that. There are actually 5 common mindsets or beliefs that many of us have when it comes to our relationship with money, okay? The first one is our self-worth. So sometimes many of us consider our value based on how much money that we're making. Meaning, let's say I'm making minimum wage, right? So let's say I'm making $210 an hour. I could internalize that and feel like, okay, I'm always going to be worth $210 an hour. The problem that some of us have is that we don't know how to separate our identity and who we are and what we bring to the table from what it is that we do and what it is that we get paid for. Right now, I may be making $210. It doesn't mean that next week I can't be promoted or move to another job where I'm making $500 a week. But if I have that mentality that that $210 is all I'm worth, then that may manifest in my actions. And so I may serve somebody poorly who has the ability to give me a job that could pay me $500. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Another thing, invisible ceiling. That also can go into self-worth. So the invisible ceiling says, I'm only good enough to make this amount of money. Again, going back to my friend I just had the conversation with before I started with you guys on live. Her thing was, I struggled to, and she's, listen to me. If I told y'all her name, I'm not going to tell y'all her name, but if I told y'all her name, some of you will know her. Those of you who don't, you would end up going to our Facebook page and you would be like, oh my God, like this girl should be doing what she does around the world. But for her, there's an invisible ceiling in her mind because she fought so hard just to get to be paid what she is paid now, because her craft is not respected. So in her mind, there's an invisible ceiling. But yet, there are people who she works with who make more than her, who charge more than her per hour, who demand what they are worth. And quite frankly, I mean, she can't be mad. You know, that's the decision that she has kept herself in, and those other people made a decision to charge what they are worth, right? So there's this other thing, especially for creatives, right, that we will always be starving artists. Our parents tell us all the time, right, or used to, some of us. You're just, you know, a painter. You're gonna be a painter. You're never gonna make ends meet. All you're gonna do is be starving. You're gonna live paycheck to paycheck. You're not gonna succeed in this country. The world doesn't recognize your talent. You can't get paid for your talent. And let me tell you something. Jamal Roll, the celebrity artist, shout out to him. I love Jamal. Jamal is the perfect shining example in this country of how that stereotype is not true. Jamal ain't starving nowhere, okay? But he knows how much he's worth. And then if you ask him directly, quite frankly, he'll tell you he's a business person first. And then he's an artist. Don't worry about how, you know, he has his stuff together. He is organized. Everything about him is intentional. And that's how we need to be intentional. People take him seriously. Yes, he gets flack for wearing a suit because, you know what, it goes against what we think of a painter, what we think of an artist to be. We think a lot of times the artist should look, I was going to use the word sloppy, that's not nice. Artists should look unkempt and, look a little popped down, maybe. Not be driving a nice vehicle, not making good money, barely supporting themselves. And he is the opposite of that. But let me tell you, that all is very, very carefully crafted. And I'm going to talk to him so that I can talk to you guys about his story later on. So the fourth mindset is the imposter syndrome. What if people find out that I'm not as talented? What if people find out that I'm not as smart? What if people find out who I really am? That's a fear that some of us have, right? And then the wealth mindset. Do y'all know that the world's most wealthiest people have 6 to 7 income streams of revenue? 6 to 7. Now, most of those things are either residual or they're very hands-off, right? More like investments, and they make their money back. You can't possibly have 6 or 7 jobs. I'm sorry. You cannot, okay? But the world's most wealthiest people have their money and interest tied up in many different places. And they only maybe focus on 1 or 2 of them, right? And then the rest of them is like they make money in their sleep. We have this perception that we need to work ourselves to the bone. I don't know where this, I think it's probably Instagram and social media, where this perpetuation came from, that hustling 24/7, don't sleep. I'm on my grind all the time. Sleep when you die. Let me tell you something. If you don't sleep, your death comes quicker. Ask the doctors. Ask Google. If you don't sleep properly, you bring your life to an end faster. You take years off of your life, literally. Your body and your mind has to recuperate. You have to sleep. It's up to you to decide how much you sleep, but you have to sleep. So let's talk about some of the ways that we disrespect ourselves for money, okay? And some of you need to hear this. We allow people to bargain us down. It's one thing if you quote your price and you say, you know what, for you, I'll do it for this amount of money, right? But there are some of us who allow other people to bargain us down. So let me give you an example. I'm not going to call off the name, but I sent in a proposal to a business, and I've worked with them for a bit. I sent in a proposal, and then I happened to find out what someone else was charging. They were charging more than I was charging, but what they were doing in comparison to the amount of work I was going to be doing was much smaller. I said, oh, hell no. So I amended my proposal. I needed to change my proposal. I bargained myself down. I didn't even give them an opportunity to bargain me down. I bargained myself down. I don't do that anymore, right? Because you can't bargain with BPL. You can't bargain with BTC when they're about to cut your phone off. You can't bargain with Cable Bahamas. You can't bargain with Water and Sewage. You can't bargain with Scotia, RBC, Fidelity, whoever. You can't bargain with them. So don't let people bargain you down. Now, if you feel led out of the goodness of your heart to give someone a break, that's on you. But do not let people demand that you fit into their budget, okay? Without you scaling back and saying, you know what? If that's all you can afford, then instead of me doing all of that, here's what I can do for you instead. Or be willing to walk away and say, you know what, I just don't think that we are a good fit for each other, and that's fine. Like, everybody ain't your client, and all money ain't good money. So, wanting to appeal to everybody, that's a problem. And I'm going to talk about that later when I talk about who you should be selling to. If you're selling to everyone, you ain't selling to no one. There's a difference between, you could charge for $15 per person for an event, for example, or you could charge $30 per person. So let's say that you have 100 people come to your event, right? So that's 100 times 15. That's $1,500. Let's say that you have 80 people come to your event and you charge $30. That's $2,400. So yes, you had less people come to your event, but you actually made more money. Some of us like the idea of having these events and whatever else that we have, and we want a whole bunch of people to be there, right? For us, it's like visually, that means that it's a success. Not necessarily, because you could have had 100 people to your show charging $15 and you made $1,500, but guess what it cost you to put on that event, your venue alone may have been $1,500, and then you add in marketing and whatever else, and you actually lost money. Okay, so there are also other ways too, like undercutting the competition. Like, for example, the average photographer may charge $200 an hour, and you say, you know what, you want to get your foot in the door and you charge $75. I mean, you could do that at first, but you're also hurting yourself in the end, and you're hurting the industry, because then now if other up and coming photographers and whoever else come into the market, you guys are causing the market to actually decrease. Which means, as I already pointed out to you before with the event, $15 versus $30, you're gonna have to work twice as hard. You're gonna have to work harder in order to make the same amount of money that you would have made if you had charged what everybody else in the market is charging. Okay, so I talk about why your mindset matters because of the 80-20 rule, right? So the same way they say that 80% of your diet is made in the kitchen and 20% in exercise, my friend Odaz, who does mindset training, she says 80% of success is your mindset and 20% is your know-how, your knowledge. And that's what I talked about before. If your mindset is a poverty mindset, where you're always thinking about lack, where you're always thinking about what you don't have, what all you don't have and what you need, and just thinking about what's not there and in place, then you're going to sabotage yourself. You can question if you're good enough, and you may even be battling with your self-esteem, right? So let's talk about number 2. What is your why? So Michael Jr. says, when you know your why, then your what has more impact, because you are working towards your purpose. So there's this concept of the good idea versus the God idea. Now, some of you may not believe in God. Some of you may not believe in Jesus. That's fine. You could walk away or still listen, whatever, up to you. So the good idea versus the God idea. The good idea would be self-motivated, self-serving. It's easier to do in your own strength. You may just be copying someone else because you saw them, making money. Like the people who decided that all of them were going to sell phone cards within, 10 steps of each other. So now none of y'all making money, or y'all barely making money, because you saw like there were 3 phone card people, and then all of a sudden it became everyone selling phone card, and then the gas station started selling phone card too. Who's making money off of that now, really and truly? Maybe the guy at Prince Charles still, because he is there from morning to night, like that is his job, right? So the God idea, grace and faith is necessary. You can't do nothing in your own strength, because your idea is so big, your event is so big, your budget that you need for your event is so big, your business and the overall vision, the future vision for it is so big that you need help. You need a team, you need provision, you need things that you do not have right now. That's when you rely on God. The God idea is purpose-led. It ties back to what you were made to do, if you believe in purpose, right? And it is your creativity activated. I love this sermon. Actually, it's an interview with Stephen Furtick and Bishop T.D. Jakes. And in it, Bishop T.D. Jakes talks about his book, Soar. And he says, God never made furniture. He made the trees, and then he activated human beings' minds to conceptualize furniture. God don't make, so he said God is not in the furniture making business. It's literally up to us to take the raw materials of what he has given us and to bring solutions creatively on earth. That's an example of a God idea. So if you believe in God, if you believe in purpose, ask yourself, is your project, your event, your business, your personal brand, whatever it is it a good idea or is it a God idea? Why is it important for you to know your why? Because when you know your why, you can always keep coming back to it. If your why is so that your children can be financially set up and you can create generational wealth for them, keep that why before you. If your why is that you want to be financially stable and you want to work for yourself, keep that why before you. Whatever your why is, it will help you to not make rash decisions like, you know what, this is hard, I just want to quit and go get a 9-to-5. Because quite frankly, there are going to be days, I've had days where I was like, you know what, everything cool, let me go look in the newspapers and apply for these jobs. That helps you keep your eye on the prize. Okay, so number 4. Is my numbering off? My numbering is off. It's actually number 3, right? What is your superpower? I love this saying, Clark Kent is Superman. Superman is not Clark Kent. What is your unique combination of experiences, knowledge, skills, gifts, and talents? That is your superpower. I repeat it again. What is your unique combination of experiences, knowledge, skills, gifts, and talents? That is your unique superpower. When I needed to find out what my superpower was, you know what I did? And it was a great recommendation. It came from my mother. She said, you know, because I had questions, I said, you know, would people really pay me for this? What makes me qualified? And so she said, get out a piece of paper and write down everything that you've ever done. Write out everything that you ever studied, everything that you've studied, all the things that you have paid for, the amount of time that you have put into it, the awards that you've gotten, everything that you have participated in. And when you need to come back to that list, come back to that list, and that list will remind you of why people will pay you. And it will remind you of the sacrifices that you made so that you could be where you are and doing what you want to do. So I challenge you to do the same. If you ever have any questions like, should people pay me? Would they pay me? Am I good enough? What makes me qualified? Write down every single thing that you have done, because let me tell you something. And like I said, I believe in God, and God does not waste anything. Okay? There are lots of things that if you look at it, you will see things connected. What you started off in this job, it helped you get this job, and then it built on, and then job number 3 built on what you learned in job number 1. Job number 5 built on what you learned in job number 2. Nothing is ever wasted. And we really need to learn how to own our own space, right? And owning your own space, we have to understand that it's going to make people uncomfortable. It's going to make people look at you, and they may not say it to your face, but they may say, who she thinks she is, quitting her job, going into business for herself. Who she thinks she is, switching to that next job. She don't need to be making all that money. She ain't have no kids, no bills. Who does he think he is, starting that car wash business on the side on Saturdays? People are going to say it. Y'all need to get used to it. Stop looking for people's validation. Stop looking for people's validation. Okay? Most people judge you based on where they are in life. And a lot of the feedback that you are going to get is based on people's fears. And sometimes it's based on not only the fears, it's based on the jealousy. I don't believe in giving haters too much talk time, right? So I'm going to wrap it up with that. But sometimes it's literally people being jealous of the fact that you were brave enough to take that risk and that you were willing to fail and do what they weren't willing to do. So let's talk a little bit about demand what you're worth, right? Because some people say that good work equals hard work. I love the phrase work harder, not work smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. Stop being afraid to give a figure. Stop being afraid. You know, if your price is your price, your price is your price. Stop bargaining yourself down. I've had to go through the mindset shifts as well. Stop bargaining yourself down. Stop giving people discounts. Stop it. I'll give you an example. This is a big brand, JCPenney. I love JCPenney. It's a good place to get certain types of clothes, right? But JCPenney has been discounting their clothes for years now, to the point where I will not buy anything if it's not on sale. I will wait until they have a sale if I am looking for something in particular, right? Because I know even if they don't have a sale today, they can start a sale tomorrow morning. So let me wait until tomorrow morning, right? So they have taught their audience that they will always have discounts. And therefore, you know what the audience does? The audience will wait until they have discounts. They have taught us not to buy things full price. That is very, very important, because some of you like to give discounts. Listen, if you bake cupcakes and you always baking dozens of cupcakes and people know you love to bake, you're going to find that people are going to take advantage, to the point where you supply in the whole family with cupcakes and ain't nobody ever give you a dime, and you paying out of pocket for it, right? So that when you decide, you know what, I want to turn this into a business, the issue is now when you say, you know what, eggs cost this, flour costs this, icing costs this, they can look at you like you crazy. But you never charged us before for your cupcakes. Why should we pay for your cupcakes now? That's because you train them like that. Okay, number 4, who are you selling to, right? So it is very, 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 let me say it again, very, 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 very important to know who it is that you're selling to. Know your niche, and the word is niche, not niche. I think it's French. It's niche, not niche. Okay, know what niche you operate in, and know who your ideal clients are. Like I said before, if you're trying to sell to everyone, you're not going to sell to anyone. You know what is like one of the deepest ways to hurt me if someone asks me a business question is no, if I ask someone a question is, so who do you sell to? And then the person says, oh, I sell to everyone. The shock and the horror, that answer horrifies me. That answer absolutely horrifies me, because you're probably not making any money, or you're not making as much money as you could be making, because you haven't found your niche and you haven't decided who it is that you are selling to. So why do you need to find a niche? And a niche literally is, let me give you an example of a niche market. Sorry, I just smacked my lips. A niche market is plus size lingerie beginning at size 20 and up. That's a niche market. Okay, what's another niche market? Okay, my dad went on my mind. Model airplanes, niche market. Those are drones are extremely popular now. That is a niche market. Okay, find your niche. See where you fit into a market, a big picture industry, and then you circle in, you zoom in, you zoom in, you zoom in, you zoom in like a microscope, and you find your niche within that industry. It benefits you because it helps you stand out from the crowd. I mean, if we live in a world where all brands are trying to talk to everyone, then how are we going to hear you? How are you going to be different from somebody else? How are we going to notice you? There's literally nothing that stands out about you. You're not talking to me in the way that I need you to talk to me. I'll give you an example, right? Like there are clothing commercials, right, for kids. I didn't start paying attention to clothing commercials for kids until my nephew came along. And then it became relevant to me, right? So you can't get my attention. You couldn't get my attention talking to me about kids' clothing. I had no kids to buy clothing for. You see what I'm saying? But they knew that they were talking to people who had children in their lives, mainly parents, right? When you know your niche, you also get to offer something special to that group of people who you are serving, and you get to talk their language. So when you are deciding on your niche, you now then need to decide on who your ideal client is, right? There's this thing called an ideal client avatar. It is literally a detailed profile about who it is that you are selling to. You need to be so specific, right? Because this person who you're selling to, this prototype, this model person who would buy from you or attend your event and support your brand, you need to know what their pain points are. And a pain point is, and that's PAIN point. A pain point is a perceived problem that that particular person has, or those types of people have. So an example of a pain point would be, let's think of Dove. I just thought of Dove. You know, as women, we wear different things. You don't want, when you raise your arm, you go out on a night with your girls and you dance and you raise your arms and you see white marks on your black shirt, right, from your deodorant. So Dove said, you know what? We're going to solve this problem. So now they've made a deodorant that is invisible. It goes on invisible. You literally can spray Dove on your black clothes or whatever color clothes, and it does not show any mark. That to them is a solution that they provided to that problem, that pain point. A pain point, again, is a perceived problem that your ideal person who would buy from you has, okay? And it is your job to show them and convince them that not only do you have the solution, but you are the best person to solve their problem. So when you are doing this ideal client avatar or the ideal client profile, get extremely specific. How old are they? Are they male or female? How much money do they make? How much education do they have? What do they like to do for fun? What worries do they have? What goals and dreams do they have? At what stage in their life are they in? Do they want to have kids? Do they want to have a family? Are they ready to buy a house? What are they looking for? Do they want to be married? Get in their head as much as possible. Literally to the point where you can cut out a picture of this person from the internet, a magazine or whatever, and you say, this is the person who I am going after, and these are the things about them that I know. You need to know that ideal client like the back of your hand, and it is very, 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 very important to know why. Okay, and then I'm going to talk to you about how people miscalculate. So if you don't know who you're selling to, then you can't talk to them in a way that makes sense to them. Like I said before, it was never relevant to me before about buying kids' clothes. So when I saw commercials for kids' clothing, I usually didn't pay attention. Or I just thought, oh, that's cute. And it didn't go much further than that. I had no need to pay attention. But, you know, if you tell me now, because my nephew is a little boy who loves to roll around on the floor and roll in the dirt, do whatever, right? But if I see a commercial now and it talks about this clothing that is hard to get dirty, hard to wrinkle, hard to mash, easy to clean off, I'm listening because he needs that, right? But you're talking in language that I understand, and you are providing a solution to a problem that I have, right? So There's this thing in psychology called mirroring. So when you mirror, mirroring is a behavior in which one person subconsciously mimics or imitates the gesture, the speech, the pattern, or the attitude of another person, right? So here's how mirroring is extremely important. They actually tell you that if you want someone to like you or feel some type of like positive feelings towards you, mirror their body language. Like if you're out on a date, for example. So if the person is smiling, you smile. If the person puts a hand on your shoulder or your hand, you put your hand on their shoulder or you touch them. You are mirroring so that they feel like a connection is being created. Maybe you may say that's a little bit of manipulation, but psychologically it works. So when you talk to your target audience, you need to know what their feelings are, what problems that they have, how they describe those problems, because guess what? When you frame the solution that you are offering them, then you get to use their own words back to them. And then they'll be like, oh my God, like that's exactly what I was thinking and feeling. Like, how does this person know this? I have to buy this product. I have to use this person for my branding. I have to have this person do my logo. Like, I have to buy their drink. Like, this is a problem. Because all that person did, all that brand did, was turn their language back around on the client. You know, when people say that person was speaking my language, something in our minds makes us feel more of an attraction towards that thing, because we feel like, oh my gosh, like that brand is for me. That person is talking to me. This was made for me. And that is extremely important. Whatever solution that you provide to your audience, it must be valuable to your client. They must be willing to pay. They must be willing to show up for your show on time. They must find your show valuable, that they're going to spend $45 or $50 for your plate. Okay? If you do marketing or PR, they must find your services valuable. So it's on you to communicate the value of what it is that you have to offer and how you can make their lives better, how you can make their business better. Okay? Now, I see it all the time around town. Sometimes when we do things like open stores, for example, we don't consider who our ideal client is. I'm not picking on anyone. This is just an example that came to my mind, right? So let's say that, and I can say this because I've worked in a place like this. There are some people who live out west. They do not drive further. They don't come out central. They don't drive south. They don't drive out east, okay? They may not drive past Cable Beach, okay? Real example. They may not drive past Cable Beach. So let's say that you're a hairstylist and you do hair really, really well. Like everyone raves about you. You do hair really well. But you say, you know what? You want to attract the high-end people who are willing to pay you more. Okay, that's fine. But then the question is, you're trying to attract those people who don't drive further east than Cable Beach, which means, you know what? You need to be Cable Beach or further west. You can't expect somebody to drive and come in the Grove or come in wherever it is, because they have their own reasons why they don't come out Cable Beach. You know, I've heard some people say, well, I don't come out past a certain point because I don't feel safe. It's not safe. I'm going to get robbed. I'm going to get whatever. There's a bunch of reasons in their mind. Like, they just are not crossing the threshold and driving anywhere else outside of their boundary of comfort and safety. But you really expect the person who you're targeting to come to you, and you work in the Grove, or you're in Fox Hill, or you're in wherever. You have to consider where you're going to set up shop. And where you're going to set up shop should be based on your target audience. And then there are other times where people pick places that don't have any parking. But you know, if you really thought about it, you would know that as Bahamians, sometimes if we pull up to a place and there's no parking, some of us will drive off. Some of us are not going to circle and circle and circle. Some of us are not going to drive in the back of a huge, park in the back of a huge parking lot and walk to your store. Some of us are not going to do it. There are exceptions like Kelly's and Solomon's and all of that. But these are the types of things that you have to consider, okay? Very, 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 I can't say it again, it's very important that you know who it is that you are serving, because every single decision that you make after that is all about your client, even down to what colors you use. There's this thing called color psychology, even down to the colors you use and how it appeals to them. Your lifestyle and the lifestyle that you portray. Okay, I remember I was watching this webinar, and it was this lady who does luxury event florals. She's a floral designer, but she is a luxury. Like, she doesn't work with people who have less than a $50,000 budget just to spend on flowers. And she was saying that one of the ways how you emerge and break into the luxury market is you study what the people who can afford luxury things, you study their lifestyle. You look at the things that they like. You listen to their conversation. You listen to the words that they use. And if you're having a meeting with one of them, you do as much research as you can on them, so that you could just subtly drop things into conversation like, oh, you know, you like going to so-and-so, I don't know, name some bougie place. I love it there. They have an amazing drink. It's called the blah, blah, blah. Immediately that person has a connection to you because, oh my gosh, like, she and I love to go to the same places. We love to shop at the same places. That already starts to build a level of like. And after you build a level of like, there's trust. Okay? Know, like, trust. Those are three very important things. Know, like, and trust. That's also an example of mirroring, right? For your client, for your ideal client. Know what your unique selling proposition is. What is it that you do better than anyone else when it comes to your event, your business, your brand, your project, your side hustle? What makes you different from the other 50 million people who have a beauty supply store? What makes you different than the other 20,000 people who are photographers? Why does your perspective matter? How else can you bring a new twist on an old idea? That's always my question to people. Like, okay, you want to do that thing? How are you going to do it different? Like, there's already so many people in that market who do that thing. Okay, so here's how you find your unique selling proposition, okay? Get out of your own head, okay? You know, there's no fisherman that's gonna call his fish stink, right? So you don't have the ability to be impartial. So that's where you get feedback from people. So literally put yourself in your client's shoes, right? So if you sit down and you say, okay, I sell purses, and this is the ordering process that clients have to go through from when they first contact me to buy a purse to when I actually put the purse in their hand, and write out the steps on a piece of paper that your clients have to go through. And then maybe along the way you may stop and say, you know what, this is doing too much, because if I actually had to go through this process myself with somebody else, because maybe I wanted to buy cupcakes from them, or I wanted to buy a dress from them, and I had to go through these 5 different steps before I could get this thing from them, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go through all that trouble. And then you say, oh, maybe that's how people feel too when they're trying to buy purses from me, and they have to send me a WhatsApp message. Then they have to send me a Facebook message because I didn't answer the WhatsApp. Then they maybe try my email because I didn't answer any of them. And then they have to go stand in line and deposit money on my account. And then they have to send me a receipt. And then we have to talk about how I'm going to deliver the stuff. and it's only during this particular time that I could deliver the stuff. And even saying that make me tired. So as I'm not gonna buy your purse. If you doing too many steps, I'm not gonna buy your purse. So then the question is, what is your unique selling proposition? How can you make the process to buy purses easy? Literally a two-step process. Put in the order, pay, pick up, or delivery. That's it. Trust me when I say people will appreciate the fact that you didn't make them jump through hoops so that they could buy from you. They are doing the favor by buying from you. You're not doing them the favor by selling to them, okay? Remember that. Ask your current clients why they buy from you. Why do they choose to buy from you versus someone else? I mean, they could get a purse anywhere. They can buy cupcakes anywhere, right? They can go to any beauty supply place, okay? I know for myself, I don't know if you guys remember Stardust on Blue Hill Road. I love Stardust. Stardust was far from me though, okay? Because I don't live anywhere near Blue Hill Road. But for me, I would drive and spend my gas money to drive there for this particular product because I only bought one thing from them. It was oil for my hair. And I could have gotten that oil other places. It doesn't seem so now. But I could have gotten that oil from anywhere else. But you know what? I love that man who used to be there and be the supervisor, I think, or the owner, something. And I would get free candy every single time I went in there. So that 5 cents or 10-cent candy and the customer service that he gave me made me spend about $5 in gas just to go buy my oil that I could have gotten 10 minutes away at the store. But it was because of the experience that he gave and created. That was their unique selling proposition to me. That was very important. You need to know what your unique selling proposition is. And on the flip side too, you can ask people why they choose to buy from your competitors and not from you. That will also give you really, really honest feedback about why they prefer your competitors over you. So while I switch to my next set of slides, I want to answer Raja Bain's question, what do you recommend for finding a social media or brand manager if funds are not there? I'm going to be doing a lot of live sessions about different topics on here and Instagram. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is bootstrapping. And when I say bootstrapping, it literally means what happens when you are trying to start something and you have very limited. You may actually not have a whole bunch of money anyway when you start. And so then the question becomes, okay, I have these limited funds. What do I do? Where do I focus my money? Where do I focus my time and my energy? Social media is something that you have a few options, right? So you can choose to study a bit of social media on your own, and then you handle the social media for now until you can actually hire somebody to do your social media. It's going to take a sacrifice, obviously, but I can tell you that I learned social media. I mean, when I graduated from university in 2009, social media, the term social media did not exist, right? So I was on Facebook. I think Facebook launched in 2004, I think. 2003 or 2004. I joined Facebook in 2005. There was no Facebook for Business. There was no paid advertising. Facebook was closed at that time. You could not join Facebook unless you had an official university email address, okay? At the time, Pinterest was in beta mode, meaning that you couldn't just join Pinterest. You actually had to have an email by invitation in order to join Pinterest. There was no Instagram. There was no Snapchat. There was none of these things. There was no LinkedIn, nothing. But I intentionally had to learn because I saw that that was something that was, it was going to be the next thing. And I forced myself to learn. I have spent money studying Facebook advertising. I have spent hours on Pinterest and different websites studying about social media, studying social media habits, going through and learning the back end of how to run a Facebook ad, how to read your results of a Facebook ad, all of these things. If you don't have the money, you are going to have to invest the time. It's either or. Or you can try to find someone who you can barter with, whether it's an intern or it's a young person who really just is looking for a way to build their portfolio, and they can run your social media for you. I would just say that I would caution you with that. I think that is a great thing. But, and I had a conversation with my friend about this, when you don't know how to do something at all, I'm not talking about you know the basics of it, but it's not your thing and you don't want to do it. When you don't know how to do something at all,